Hi, I'm Brian Davis, and I'm the Best Practice Chair for Vistage in Minnesota and the Dakotas. And today I'm visiting with Scott Steffes, who is the owner and CEO of the Steffes Group. Um, Scott, thanks for joining me today. Tell us a little bit about your business and how you provide value to your customers.
Well, guess what, folks? We're an auction company, and there aren't very many of those around. And I would tell you that in the auction business that we are sellers representatives, and we sell at public auction farm equipment, construction equipment, and typically farm real estate. Included in that is quite a bit of transportation equipment, like trucks and semis, is related to construction and or farm machinery. So that keeps us really busy here at the Steffes Group.
Wow, great. Tell me a little bit about why you joined in over 15 years ago, why you joined and why you continue to belong.
Well, we live in Fargo, North Dakota, folks. So, of course, from a resource perspective, maybe we could call ourselves fish in a small pond. And of course, one thing I learned a long time ago as we're growing our business, perspective is everything. And when I started our auction business, which, by the way, I really didn't, it was my father's business. He was a farm sale auctioneer and sold at auction livestock sale barns. And of course, I came from a farming and ranching background. Uh, learned how to do chores and got to go to auction sales, and I really liked it because I didn't have to get dirty in the field. So that was how I started in the auction business. And here at the Steffes Group, we kind of expanded my dad's local, community-oriented auction business into more of a business and an enterprise. And during that process, I was constantly looking for a better way. And the subject of Vistage came up many, many years ago, and here I am today. Glad I joined.
Great, great. Give us a quick snapshot of your business in terms of its size and profitability when you joined to where you are today.
Well, when I joined the Vistage Group, I would tell you that I was just, had a great big vision and wanted to, do all these things in the world that set the world on fire. And of course, I couldn't figure out how to do it, and I knew that I needed help. And in Fargo, North Dakota, from a resource perspective, and then also from a niche market point of view, which is obviously being in the auction business, it is not a lot of farm equipment auctioneers in Vistage, I would say. But I was looking for, some place that I could bounce ideas off or learn, constantly learning. And that brought me to the Vistage process or the Vistage environment. And it was really a great experience. When I first started in the Vistage Group, we were I had been operating our family auction business, and my father was exited several years before, and I wanted an avenue to grow and figure out how to do that. And of course, I would tell you that I'd probably be like a lot of people. My preconceived notion was that, well, we're in a very niche market and we're in a very specific business, and we have problems that nobody else has, and we have obstacles that are in front of us that nobody understands. And the greatest discovery from a Vistage perspective is when you get 14 or 15 people all together that are running businesses, chances are you're going to realize that maybe you're the same as everybody else. And all of a sudden the learning starts. And that was a great discovery for me. And in the auction business that I was in, back then we were 25 or 30 people. I was in an organization where I was chief cook and bottle washer and knew that I had to, I could do the work of three people, but the reality of it is if you want to have work for five or six, it gets a little cumbersome. And that was really an eye-opening experience from a Vistage perspective because it gives you those resources to talk about scaling, talk about organizational structure, talk about processes. All those things are important if you want to grow a business. So pretty soon, when we started Vistage, I was probably 25 or 30 people and here doing maybe $30 million in sales. And here we are, what, 15 years later? I think we're 175 strong, probably 9 or 10 locations, doing in excess of 600 million a year in sales. So something happened along the way that made it work out.
Wow, wow. Well, I don't think it was coincidence. I think you are a visionary leader and you have a unique ability to really help people buy into your vision and get excited about growth.
That's a really good comment. And I'm going to tell you, from a recognition perspective, I never viewed myself that way. I was just somebody that had an idea or had a lot of motivation or a lot of ambition, and yet I didn't have the tools that I didn't understand that I needed. And I guess that's the biggest takeaway from a Vistage perspective, because you got like-minded people that are in part of an organization. And I would tell you the biggest takeaway from a Vistage experience is not necessarily the company itself, but what the company does to attract and bring like-minded people so you can share your experiences and learn and do better.
Well, going from 35 people to 175 over your tenure at Vistage is quite a transformation. Could you tell us about some of the key points along that transformation that it really helped you transform the business?
Well, from a Vistage perspective, not to be a commercial or anything like that, but they just have a great resource of people and speakers that give you exposure that you wouldn't necessarily have the resources or the opportunity to get in front of. It teach you about organizational structure, teach you about process and how important that is, teach you about culture and values and all those things that you're so busy in the day to day you forget about, or you just don't have time to experience that. And being around Vistage and from a month to month basis, being able to listen to speakers that have written the book or been through the experience before, it's very valuable. It really is. And again, that I don't know of any other way you're going to be able to be exposed to that unless you are a part of a group like Vistage.
Great, great. Well, you've had an incredible run. What do you see as your future going forward?
Well, funny thing about getting older, that's the hardest part. And
I don't want to hear
yeah, I know we're all invincible, and at the same time we're a multi-generational business. And of course, my vision is to leave it better than I found it, as my dad started, and we've done a good job of that. And so, I guess transition is probably the next step or the next journey that I have to start thinking about as I get older, and also, you when you grow a business, you have a business, right? But more importantly, I think from my perspective, is you have people. Well, people are the most valuable resource and the most valuable assets to any business. I don't care if you're in manufacturing or service or building computers, whatever it is. And so my goal is to figure out a way to take care of our people and to leave a process or a means with which they can continue. And maybe I have a pie in the sky attitude, but nothing would serve me better than the brothers and the uncles and the cousins and stuff like that are involved in our business today have their young children or their young family members that want to continue in this business because they like the culture, they like the atmosphere, they like the job, they like the work. And that's my next, what do you say, goal in life, is to figure out a way to leave it better than I found it.
Great, great. Well, Scott, you've been a tremendous asset to the group, and I think you provide just a great example of what can happen when people really focus on their people and on growth without worrying about what the specific financial returns are from quarter to quarter.
Yeah, it's funny. Uh, One thing I've learned the hard way is that, the harder you try, maybe the more difficult it gets. And, you talk about, being successful and, focusing on different elements. And one of the takeaways that I've discovered over the years, that, funny thing about money, right? The reality of it is you need it to grow. You have to have capital to grow and risk, and you have to figure out a way to pay taxes and, all those other things. But I think if you approach it, that money should never be the goal. It should only be the result. And if you have that mentality and you have a vision, or you have like-minded people that you can get together so everybody can do what they do best, it's amazing what can be accomplished. I'm a living example of it.
Yeah, great. Well, hey, thanks for taking the time.
Appreciate it.
Okay.